Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're looking at some of our favorite little secrets and Easter eggs in The Legend of Zelda, whether they're well known or not. But before we dive in, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Star Fox Cameo, The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. Before becoming the art director of Majora's Mask, Takuya Imamura was a key figure in the Star Fox series, designing several characters. Interestingly, a few eagle-eyed Zelda fans noted that a group of animal masks in Majora's selection screen seemed to be arranged in a way that called back to Star Fox. Masks representing a fox, bird, rabbit, frog, and finally a pig are all lined up, mirroring team leader Fox, second-in-command Falco, veteran Peppy, and rookie Slippy. Completing the row was former member and traitor Pigma. However, director Eiji Aonuma said this was unintentional, so it seems to be an accidental cameo, although he couldn't rule out someone on the team slipping it in without telling him. Ganondorfs Swords, The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. Being a follow-up to Ocarina of Time, just set a few hundred years later and in a flooded world, there are numerous callbacks to that game's characters and plot in Wind Waker. Some are fairly obvious, like the stained glass windows of the sages. However, others are much more difficult to notice. The most interesting of these character references are hidden on Ganondorf's pair of twin swords. Engraved with Hylian text, they translate to something very specific. One sword bears the name Koume and the other Kotake, the twin witches who raised the evil king, as shown in Ocarina. Turns out Ganon was a bit of a mama's boy all along. The Sheikah Text, The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. One of the most consistent elements in Breath of the Wild is the abundance of ancient Sheikah technology, much of it adorned with their language. While the Sheikah text may seem like nothing more than decoration, it's actually possible to translate it into English. Players that take the time to do so are rewarded, as the photo album containing Link's forgotten memories have their locations written in Sheikah above them. This makes the memory hunt much easier, but beyond that, there are a number of Easter eggs for fans written in Sheikah in the game. Most notably, the column of light created when players place a pin on the overworld reads, "It's dangerous to go alone." The Floating Island of Kittens, The Legend of Zelda, Skyward Sword. Technically, the animals that wander Skyloft aren't cats, but cat-like creatures known as rimlets that still purr and hiss. While they may be aggressive to Link at night, during the day they're friendly and cuddly, following Link around. The adorable animals can also be picked up and even fly with their ears, but that begs the question, where do they fly to? Hidden within Skyloft is a field full of flowers where the rimlets converge. Getting there is only possible once Link has the claw shots later in the game. It's very worth it, however, as visiting the flowery field full of the cute kittens who mew and follow Link around is a moment that all players should definitely experience at some point. Skipper loves Titanic, The Legend of Zelda, Skyward Sword. Once a lush region teeming with life, when Link arrives in Lanayru, it's become a desolate desert, with the sea having turned to sand. However, there are still remnants of that abundant time, including, of course, the robotic crew of the sand ship and its captain Skipper. At one point, you even enter Skipper's private retreat and discover a treasure trove of his personal effects. Among those effects are pictures adorning the walls of his beloved ship, including one of Skipper on the bow holding another robot with arms outstretched in a pose that may seem familiar to film fans. In a nod to one of the most famous nautical movies of all time, the picture replicates one of Titanic's most famous moments.
I'm flying! Jack!
L is Real 2401, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Those familiar with video game rumors from the early days of the internet are already aware of one of the most notorious urban legends from Super Mario 64. In Peach's castle, a plaque on the fountain's statue allegedly contained the phrase, "L is Real 2401. Maybe if you squinted at least. This was taken by some to be undeniable proof that Luigi was in the game and could be unlocked using some secret method, perhaps getting 2,401 coins. In actuality, the blurry text appears to be nothing more than a stock asset from Nintendo, as it's also present in Dodongo's Cavern. The reused plaque unintentionally connected Zelda to a famous piece of Mario lore. Either that, or you can secretly play as Luigi in Ocarina too.
Here we go!
Tingle Doll, The Legend of Zelda, Skyward Sword. Since his introduction in Majora's Mask, iterations of Tingle have appeared in several Zelda games, with Minish Cap being his last proper appearance. However, since then, he hasn't been completely absent, as his likeness has been featured across other games, represented in everything from figurines to wanted posters. However, the final and most notable Tingle facsimile came in Skyward Sword. In that game, Zelda owns a Tingle plush, visible on the desk in her room. While the Zelda fandom remains divided on whether the green-clad man-child should be beloved or despised, it seems Zelda has a soft spot for him. You can rewrite the stars. The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. With the ever-present and constantly growing closer and larger moon hanging ominously over you, the skybox in Majora's Mask is one of the game's most important features. So, naturally, we all spent a lot of time looking up. But different players might see a different night sky based on a choice they made before they even started the game. The location and number of the stars in the night sky will in fact be different depending on what name the player chooses for Link. This is just one part of what made Majora's Mask's skyboxes so unique, as each day and night of the 3-day cycle featured their own distinct and often beautiful look to the sky. Regular items can be weapons. Various. One of the silliest yet most charming Easter eggs shows Link can use non-combative items against specific bosses in a number of games. This originated in A Link to the Past, where players could deflect Aghanim's energy blasts with the net. In the showdown with Ganondorf in Ocarina of Time, he can do the same thing, this time with an empty bottle. During Twilight Princess's final duel with Ganondorf, Link can pull out his fishing rod to distract him and land a few well-placed strikes. Finally, during the second phase of the climactic battle against Demise in Skyward Sword, the boss's lightning projectiles are one of the most frustrating things to deal with. But you can pull out your handy-dandy net to easily swat them away. Majora's Mask. The Legend of Zelda, A Link Between Worlds. As its spiritual successor, A Link Between Worlds drew heavily from the third game in the franchise, A Link to the Past, with several connections and callbacks to that game. However, that wasn't the only game from Zelda's past it had a link to. On Link's wall hangs a rather surprising decoration, the titular item from Majora's Mask. Interestingly, the mask is eye level for Link, meaning that if he merges into the wall and slips behind the mask, He can even appear to wear it, something he couldn't ever do in the N64 game. Why and how this iteration of Link came into possession of such a dark item is anyone's guess. The Mini Rwing, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. By looking into the coding of Ocarina of Time, players found an interesting enemy that was unused in the final game. Anyone familiar with Star Fox would recognize this as an Rwing, the ship used by Fox McCloud and his team. The ship's code exists in the game as a placeholder that the dev team used to test the flight patterns for the Fire Temple boss, Volvagia. By using hacking or a cheat device, players can spawn it into the game. The little spaceship will fly around and shoot Link with its hyper laser, but the hero can strike back, Z-targeting it and hitting it with a weapon. Enough hits kills the Rwing, with it crashing in the same fiery explosion as Star Fox 64. Thief, The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. Stealing from a shop is not something that a legendary hero would do, nor is it something that you'd be able to do in most Zelda games. However, one of the many quirks in Link's Awakening actually lets more devious players steal items instead of paying for them. In the DX version of the game, you can even get a picture out of it for the album. However, there are consequences. After stealing, the player's name will permanently be changed to Thief, with every character in the game, even the Windfish, referring to him as such. Those that return to the scene of the crime are also in for a rude awakening, as the shopkeeper will unleash a devastating magical attack that kills Thief in one hit. The second quest spells Zelda, The Legend of Zelda. While many Zelda titles have included a second quest with increased difficulty for those that beat the game, the one from the original was one of the most puzzling and, at times, infuriating. The dungeons have different locations and, importantly, different layouts. For the first 5, when looked at as a whole, they resemble letters, specifically E, A, L, D, and Z. Those letters, when rearranged slightly, are of course the name of the princess and the series itself, Zelda. That name has yet another tick to it for the second quest, as players who name their character Zelda can skip directly to the second quest without the initial playthrough. Zora Hall, The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. Many are quick to point out that the song the Zelda Band, The Indigo Goes plays, The Ballad of the Windfish, is a reference to Link's Awakening, even though their version doesn't sound like the original song. However, the band also references Zelda's musical past in another way. The band spends their days at Zora Hall, practicing in their rooms. While Link is in his Zora form, he can visit each member, and the songs they play should sound familiar to longtime Zelda fans, as they're themes from previous games. The dungeon theme from the original game is strummed on bass by Jappus. And Evan plays the game over theme on piano. Meanwhile, fans of A Link to the Past will be delighted to hear Tiho's drum rendition of that game's cave theme. Marin plays the Trendy game, The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. There are a lot of unique minigames in Zelda. Link's Awakening has the Trendy game, a claw machine-style game where Link can grab prizes from a conveyor belt. As it turns out, however, Link isn't the only one who can play the game. During the portion of the game when Link is accompanied by the island girl, Marin, she'll ask to give the game a try if they enter the shop. In fact, Marin is an expert at the game and a bit of a prankster, deftly grabbing her prize. However, she doesn't go for a usual item, but snatches the shopkeeper himself, dropping him onto the conveyor belt with ease. Needless to say, he isn't too happy and quickly kicks the pair out of his shop. The Hero's Shade's Identity. The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. In one of the most memorable moments in the hero of Twilight's quest, he meets an undead swordsman with immense skill who teaches the young warrior new and powerful techniques. Very little is revealed about the spectral swordsman, known only as the hero's shade or hero's spirit, but the game provides hints towards his true identity. Several clues point to him being none other than the Hero of Time, the incarnation of Link from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. These included him possessing the worn-down scabbard of the Master Sword and a similar fighting stance. Distorted audio files from that game were even used for the Shade, and 2011's Hyrule Historia confirmed it to be true. Eastmost Peninsula. The Legend of Zelda. The very first Zelda was filled with hints from old men and women that would guide Link in the right direction. However, due to limitations in the hardware and somewhat questionable translations, players were often left scratching their heads. One clue explicitly references a secret, but its vague wording and grammatical inaccuracy has people debating to this day as to what it was referencing. Some think the clue, Eastmost Peninsula is the secret, refers to the piece of Triforce in the first level. The more likely explanation, however, is located on an actual peninsula accessible late in the game in the northeast of the map. Walking up through a seemingly solid wall will reveal a secret location that gives the players a cool 100 rupees for their trouble. Mario Portraits in the Courtyard. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. In a pivotal moment in the storyline of Ocarina of Time, Link makes his way past Hyrule Castle's guards to talk with the princess. He finds Zelda in a courtyard looking through a window to spy on a royal visitor from another land, Ganondorf. However, if you look to the right of the entrance and peer through the window, you'll notice pictures capturing people from yet another kingdom, the Mushroom Kingdom. Hanging on the walls are portraits of Mario and his brother Luigi, along with the Princess Peach, Yoshi, and even the despotic Bowser. Interestingly enough, in the final moment of the game, both Luigi and Bowser are visible as the game reads, "The End." The Chris Houlihan Room. The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Playground rumors of Mew hidden behind a truck in Pokemon or a secret room full of rupees in Zelda ran rampant in the 90s. The alleged ways to get into the room were varied, difficult to achieve, and seemingly triggered by accident. Besides the monetary reward, the only thing in the room was a plaque from Chris Houlihan telling the player the room was his, and to keep it a secret. Over the years, we've learned the room is a failsafe for when the game loses track of Link's Y-axis location. As for Chris, we know even less, although it has been confirmed that he won a Nintendo Power contest to have his name placed in the game. This explains why he is only referenced in the original American release, with the original Japanese and GBA remake only saying the room is a secret. Marin's secret ending. The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. Of the many colorful and alluring characters on Koholint Island, the one that makes the biggest impact on the player is Marin. Throughout the game, she and Link form a close bond. In a touching moment, she shares her desire to fly away from the island where she has lived her entire life, like a seagull. However, Link eventually learns that Marin, along with the entire rest of the characters on the island, are merely a dream of the mystical windfish, which Link must awaken. After completing the game, the island vanishes and Link wakes floating in the sea. Those that beat the game without dying a single time were treated to an extra scene. Glancing into the sky, Link sees a single seagull flying free, with a visage of Marin smiling down, indicating she might have gotten her wish after all. Do you know anything else that is a secret to everybody? Let us know in the comments below.
However, it's apparent that we still have much more to learn.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, there's more where that came from.